Word 2. The Toiler. I bent down to my soul, as on a well's edge leaning, and I called out to my soul in the mind's own meaning. And like a stranger's voice from some remote domain, the well returned my voice to me again. You are incomparable, unique, you are apart. Your mind and ego bears you to the heights. Your life with all its sorrows and delights is like the noon sun frolicking amid the windy clouds. A destroyer, he may rend them into shrouds, or to the watching eye, he may mold them, a creator, into worlds which glimmer by. Flights, frolics, the incomparable, do not boast. Approach and lend a hand, become a toiler and conform, obey, attend and question. Bend low if you would rise. Your victory it will be, rebel, to admit that you must first submit. Show first that you are the master, the controller of your anger, of your will and of your soul. Become a toiler. Wipe out every inhibition. Cast off your engagement ring into the mainstream of the people. Be one of the countless pillars that support toil's brotherhood. Listen to what says the oak tree, felled to build a galley from its wood. In this new shape that I now acquire, my everlasting soul takes fire. And the wheat stalk, see it curtsy, yearning as it bends its head for that final unborn treasure, bread. Fire, water, earth and air, whatever in you has been overcome by man's will, nothing has been diminished, and you still hold deep unconquered shades where dwell the morning star and all the ghouls of hell. The noble charger willingly accepts the rider and his reins. He loses nothing and he gains an added betterment as well, new speed and grace. And the vine is not dishonored by the pruner's hook. It knows that it will look more precious in the autumn days, bending beneath its grape-hung sprays. Thus too, the artist who must curb his hand and his imagination when carving a god's image out of stone at the high priest's command. The form to be is every time the same, yet on it he will sculp and leave impressed a love from his own breast. Love for that carven image that with awe you thus desire, O people, and thus adore. So I became a blacksmith. Brightly glows the furnace, fanned by the bellows' wing. A fire demon rages, and the red flames spring. The fire has seized the iron, and the iron from its bite will come forth like a lion, tamed by a Titan's might. And then between the anvil and the down-striking hammer begins a clashing battle, and Creator is the hammer. Hammer away the fetters, O you who are freer than a feather's flight. Hammer away the fetters and the chains of evil's might. And for the prophet hammer out the nails, for crosses and for flails. Make too the marriage bed, O you who make the lawn of free love into a couch, who make the marriage bed and make the sickle that mows the corn. Gypsy, forge the iron, you who have dwelt alone on unclimbed heights afar. Gypsy, forge the iron in the fire, for the fire, forge it into lance and shield and scimitar. Spurn the miser's hoarded treasure, you who know no other florins than the flowers of the field. Spurn the miser's hoarded treasure, Shut it secretly, O blacksmith, close it in its deepest coffer with a lock forever sealed. Then gaily wake, far from the languid ideals and drowsy flocks, O rider of cliffs and summits where your mount has traced the only trail. Then gaily wake, O rider, to the echoes of the vale, the clear resounding notes of bells hung at sheep throats. And chiming from your hands, you who have never known the dread of divine anger or commands, then chiming from your hands, empower a sacred peal like a church bell to roll across the ocean of the soul. But all in vain. Cast away, O hand, the iron. Hammer end the ceaseless battle that you wage against the anvil. I am the craftsman, I who willed one aim and another end fulfilled. I am the blacksmith, the creator, beneath whose hammer blows no nails are made, no weapons, spear or blade, no holy bells for steeples, no sheep bells for the fold, no household cots, no ploughshares, no sickles for the wold, no bridle bits, no wains, no keys, no chains. I am the blacksmith, the creator, whose hammer only forges things beautiful and useless, to mate the mateless with an art first known, my own. I am the fire magician, and with the flames I play, to steal their serpents and chimeras, and fashion from my iron stranger things than they. I am the hammer wielder, who beats out instead of blades flowers from no earthly glades. I am the metal-taming gypsy, who brings forth from the blaze circles, shadows, spells and rays, kingly diadems and scepters, gorgons, hippogriffs and spectres, for ships and palaces which are no more, or which are yet to be. All the idle, useless and strange things, sometimes without a face, sometimes without a frame, always without a name. All that enrages men who sleep wide-eyed, all that the passer-by would shun, that strikes no root in any place, that catches the regard of none, that finds no customer. I am the hammer wielder who affrights, who startles and repels, where another's work delights, the eye with grace and symmetry, into my own I breathe a ruggedness, a crudeness, a barbarity that has the strength of granite in its make. And to the client who expects to take into his hands from mine something substantial, a rigid, real creation, I deliver, without intending it, a sliver of soul, a sunbeam, or an ocean flake. And when I saw them slink off one by one, all who had been awaiting and expecting, kinsmen and strangers gathered round to see something prodigious from my efforts, then once again I knew that I was but a barren tree. I neither took this truth too much to heart, nor did I boast of it. Instead, a new decision sprouted in my mind. I threw away the hammer and put out the furnace's red glow. Then I picked up my gypsy reed, and everywhere they saw me come and go, in every land, near, far, and round about, a strolling player of the oboe. Hellenic idolaters and Macedonian Christians, wide sea mariners, Turks and Greek-born Ottomans, Knights of Malta, Venetians, Catalans, Frankish Crusaders, Slavs and Alemans, Algerian coursers and Armenians, execrated Manichaeans, soldiers and frontier guardsmen, armed hillmen of Olympus, and all the warriors fathered by north and east and west. Bedouins from the desert, emirs from the castle keeps of Syria, Lombard barons and Varangians, boyars, officers of state, and golden eagles of the great. From the dark Bulgarian gorges, from the oaks of Thracian forests, from the cedar woods of Taurus, from the olive groves of Athens, and the orchards of the city, all the scourings of the rabble, all the scum of life I met. Rogues and cutthroats with their daggers, swindlers with their serpent tongues, murderers from jails and galleys, wild beast outlaws from the wastelands, vermin of the steppe and camp, all the flirters with the gallows, all I met of every stamp. Each and all they stood before me, boisterous, reckless, unafraid, with the drunkard's muddled rashness and the brawler's ready blade. And all would call me and command me, "Gypsy player, urge the whirl, match our merriment and madness with your oboe's frenzied skirl." Night-long revels and rejoicings, summer sun or winter snow, noonday brightness, midnight shadow, nothing stops your music's flow. Night-long revels and rejoicings, how you flood through every space, forest glade and mountain gully, harbour front and marketplace. Night-long revels and rejoicings, how your oboe's strident squeal rings you with a rout of demons who have joined you in the reel. Night-long revels and rejoicings, how you draw me to the throng, you who finish up with murder what you started with a song. Night-long revels and rejoicings under the eternal stars, and in monasteries and mansions, and in ships and tavern bars, and in mail-defended castles, each a moat-encircled den, ruled by beautiful princesses, stealers of the hearts of men. And amid the ruins, brambles, and the half-light that awakes, cloudy worlds of dreams and visions on the surface of dim lakes. Always watcher in these places, there I stood, the gypsy hound, there I lurked, the strolling player, seeing all that happened round. In the whirlpool of the passions, in their storm, I was the calm, and I was a breath of reason amid tumult and alarm. Pure, unreal, divine, did ever others know, like I, your might of desire, O paradises, and you heavens of delight? Still around me, unashamed, daring, naked, you are wound, O smooth loins to lure me hellward, O white arms to hold me bound. Oh, the courtesan's embraces, and her kisses and her sighs. Oh, the violated virgin's unavailing tears and cries. In my fancy's far-flung spaces, you all found room and left behind some bright traces and some stains. In my fancy's far-flung spaces, heaven and hell found room, and yet my soul, virginal, still remains. And then one day I chanced to stand alone, far from the turmoil of the world, beside a silent lake, with no companion, alone, myself and I. I gazed into those quiet waters, into their depths and into my own being, and in my heart a flower blossomed, too tender to be called a longing, too deep felt to be named a woe. Around me the pale evening glow was lulling the child hour to rest upon her violet breast. everything was still. White water lilies floated amid the rushes green, and ferns and flowers nodded as in the background scene of some enchanted picture, all absolutely still. It was the magic stillness of nature bent with listening ear intent to catch an ancient secret lore untold before. Suddenly the impulse seized me to insult that sacred moment, all its peace to rend and steal with my gypsy oboe's squeal. And I killed that holy silence, its great secret lost, forever lost. Then the lake drew back and shuddered, everything quailed round about me, as that sound like some lewd monster ravened upon virgin nature. But while yet my lips blasphemed, and the brutal echoes leapt, my heart within me wept. And the flower which had been budding in my heart shed from its petals one last fragrance on the air of penitence, remorse, and prayer. While my oboe's stridency was still defiling everything, to the lake I turned my eyes, where it smiled upon me sadly, and I saw in it the gypsy player's face, a menacing grimace, all twisted, swollen, and disfigured, reft of its usual mien, so sculptural and serene. I smashed the oboe on that day and flung it far away. Then I became a stonemason. Where there grovelled once but hatmans, now a kingly hall must stand. Worthless lout, shove with your shoulder, idle gypsy, lend a hand. Dreams unwrought and uncreated, there the shining marble calls. Haul and carry, carefree gypsy, dig foundations, build the walls. Gasping chest and cracking sinews, through my fervid brawn and bone, tenderly a breath of conscience passed into the rough-hewn stone. My ungainly hulk I twisted, that a pillar might stand high, or when straining to assemble heavy blocks of masonry. Balanced on an airy scaffold, toiling with the others all, often I would lurch and stagger, know the terrors of a fall. Everything I tried and ventured, glass and crystal panelling, gold and ebony partitions, silver rivets, everything. Flagged and tessellated pavements, cornices arising proud, height on height, all ornamented with their statues, serried crowd. Lofty portals flanked by gorgons and by griffins which, flung wide, would give passage to crowned victors panoplied in pomp and pride. Colonnades of royal purple on which, raised by painters' hands, long dead gods fought ancient giants in the past's dim fairylands. Windows set beneath gold lintels, flashing back the morning skies, bursting into shafts of colour, dazzling the beholder's eyes. Alabaster and enamel, inlaid floor, mosaic wall, add them up, O scholar, make the tally, mark them all. And each archway and each buttress, stone or cedar where they stand, each foundation, every tower, each and all have known my hand. but a finished palace never have you slavish hand begot. For it was not I who sired it, and the palace knows me not. My uncreated palace, fairest of all earthly sights, in the freedom of my fancy, in the star-enchanted nights, I have built you deep within me, in the silence all alone of the costliest materials, to the world unknown or known. What untiring hordes of builders and of artisans, what trains! O you envy of the mountains, O you glory of the plains, would assemble at my bidding to erect you to the skies with a more than mortal wisdom and a love that never dies. Or if human skill and labor could not raise you from the ground, then what throngs of elementals, what bright wraiths would gather round to plunge into the wild waters of the world's impassioned sea and exalt your deep foundations for all eternity. And when they came and heaved me out with others I had known, and when they told me, "Gypsy, go," and I started off alone, once more upon my way, I knew a sorrow deep within me that nothing could allay.